My name is Juniper Hale. I bought my condo at 27 and put my mother down as the emergency contact. 4 years later, she handed my brother Orson the spare keys, and he moved in with his 3 kids while I was traveling for work. At the HOA hearing, he learned emergency contact does not mean owner. I found out from my doorbell camera. It was 11:46 at night in Denver, which meant it was 1:46 in the morning where I was, sitting in a hotel room in Atlanta with a laptop open and one shoe still on. I had spent 9 hours training a hospital billing team on software nobody liked, and I was trying to decide whether crackers counted as dinner. My phone buzzed with a motion alert. Front door activity. I opened the app expecting a package thief or the neighbor's cat. Instead, I watched my brother carry a blue plastic dinosaur through my doorway. Behind him, his oldest son dragged a suitcase. His twins carried pillows. My mother stood on the landing, holding my spare key and pointing into my condo like a hotel clerk. For a second, my brain refused to arrange the image correctly. Then Orson turned toward the camera and said, "Do not worry about that thing. Mom said Juniper barely checks it." I checked it. I checked the next clip too. My mother walking in with grocery bags. Orson's girlfriend, Paloma, carrying a laundry basket. One of the twins pressing his face close to the camera and asking if Aunt June was watching. I was. I called my mother first. She did not answer. I called Orson. He answered with noise behind him, children shouting, cabinets opening, my cabinets. "June," he said, too cheerful. "Bad time?" "Why are you in my condo?" The noise softened. I pictured him walking into my bedroom, closing my door, standing beside the dresser I had assembled alone. "Mom did not tell you?" "Tell me what?" "We needed a place for a few weeks." "You broke into my home." "Do not be dramatic. We used a key." People love saying, "Do not be dramatic," while standing in the middle of the drama they created. "Leave," I said. "We cannot tonight. The kids are asleep." "They were awake 30 seconds ago." Juniper. His voice changed, sliding into the tired older brother tone he used when he wanted my adulthood to step aside for his emergency. The rental fell through. Paloma's cousin backed out. Mom said you would understand. Mom does not own my condo. No, but family helps family. Family asks. He sighed. You are always so rigid. I looked at the camera feed. My nephew had put the dinosaur on my entry table, beside the bowl where I kept keys. You have until morning, I said. Then I am calling the police. His voice went cold. If you do that, those kids will remember it. That sentence was designed to make me the villain in a story he had entered with my key. They will also remember you moved them into a home you did not have permission to use. I hung up before he could answer. Then I called my mother until she picked up. Faye Hale had spent my entire life confusing access with authority. If she knew your spare code, she felt entitled to your schedule. If she had your emergency contact form, she felt included in your decisions. If she gave birth to you, she believed every boundary was a suggestion that could be softened by tone. Juniper, she said, sleepy and annoyed, it is late. Why is Orson in my condo? He needed help. Why did you give him my key? Because you were out of town. That is not an answer. It is sitting empty. There it was, the family philosophy. If I was not actively using something, it belonged to the person making the most noise. My home is not empty because I travel for work. He has children. I have a deed. She made a frustrated sound. Listen to yourself, a deed. We are talking about your nephews. No, we are talking about you handing out keys to my home. I am your emergency contact. For emergencies involving me. This is an emergency. For Orson. You have always been the lucky one, she snapped. That old sentence landed with familiar weight. I was lucky because I worked overtime. Lucky because I rented rooms with bad heat until I could save a down payment. Lucky because I did not have children before I had stability. Lucky because my emergencies were quiet enough not to inconvenience everyone. They leave in the morning, I said. You would put children on the street? No, Their father did that when he moved them without permission. She hung up on me. By morning, Orson had changed the lock. I know because my neighbor, Mr. Kepler, called while I was in the airport security line. "Juniper," he said, "there is a locksmith at your door." My boarding pass was in my hand. My laptop bag was sliding along the belt. A man behind me sighed because I stopped moving. "A locksmith?" "Your brother says you approved it." I closed my eyes. "I did not." Mr. Kepler was 80, retired from the Postal Service, and allergic to nonsense. "I thought not," he said. "I am standing here looking unpleasant." "Thank you." "The locksmith is asking for proof. Tell him I am emailing the deed and my driver's license." I stepped out of line, missed my flight, and spent the next 40 minutes sending documents from an airport bench while my brother texted me 13 times. "You are making this hard. The kids are scared. Mom said you agreed. We already moved groceries in. Can you be human for once?" The locksmith left without changing the lock because Mr. Kepler stood in the hallway until he did. That should have ended it. Instead, Orson filed a complaint with the HOA. He claimed I had abandoned the unit, that my mother had authorized him to occupy it as family, and that I was harassing him remotely. He also reported my doorbell camera as an invasion of privacy. The HOA sent me a formal notice while I was still in Atlanta. Hearing scheduled, Friday, 4 p.m. I laughed when I read it, not because it was funny, because when a man breaks into your home and then schedules a meeting about your manners, laughter is sometimes the only thing that keeps your blood pressure from becoming a public issue. I flew home Thursday night. My key still worked because of Mr. Kepler, but when I opened the door, my home smelled like pizza, detergent, and someone else's shoes. My couch had a blanket fort on it. My coffee table was sticky. The framed print above my desk was leaning against the wall because Orson had moved my workstation to make room for an air mattress. My bedroom door was closed. That was the only thing that made me raise my voice. Orson. He came out of my kitchen holding my mug. My mug. "You cannot just walk in," he said. I looked at him for a long moment. "Say that again slowly." Paloma appeared behind him, eyes tired, arms folded. The kids were watching from the hallway. I kept my voice steady for them. "You need to leave." Orson set the mug down. "We have the HOA hearing tomorrow. Until they decide, we are staying." The HOA does not decide ownership. They decide occupancy rules. You are not an occupant. Mom made an agreement. Mom does not own anything here. He smiled, and there was the brother I knew. Charming when watched, cruel when cornered. You always hide behind paperwork because you do not understand people. I looked at my nephews, small faces, nervous hands, children used as shields by adults who knew better. "Pack tonight," I said. "I will pay for 2 hotel rooms for 3 nights. After that, you find a legal rental." Paloma's face shifted. Hope, maybe. Or exhaustion recognizing a door. Orson shook his head. "We are not taking charity. You are standing in my living room. This is different. It is trespassing with throw pillows." Paloma covered her mouth. I do not know if she was hiding shock or a smile. The HOA hearing was held in the community room beside the mailboxes. 12 folding chairs, a plastic table, a coffee urn nobody trusted. 3 board members sat at the front. Mrs. Altman from Building C, Mr. Reyes from the townhomes, and a property manager named Clive, who always wore vests. My mother arrived with Orson as if she were counsel. She kissed the children in the hallway and then looked at me like I was the weather ruining a picnic. "You can still fix this," she whispered. "I am." Orson brought a folder. That surprised me until I saw what was inside. Printed text messages from my mother saying he could use the condo, a copy of my emergency contact form, and a grocery receipt. He really thought groceries were evidence of rights. The hearing began with Clive reading the complaint. Unauthorized surveillance, contested occupancy, alleged harassment, and lock modification dispute. Mrs. Altman peered over her glasses. This is a lot for a Friday. Orson spoke first. He was good. I will give him that. He talked about the children, the rental falling through, my frequent travel, our mother's understanding that family properties were shared in emergencies. Family properties. I wrote that phrase on my notepad and underlined it once. Then my mother spoke. Juniper has always been independent, she said, sometimes too independent. She forgets that family means sacrifice. Orson needed temporary help, and as her emergency contact, I made a decision. Mr. Reyes blinked. Are you on the deed, Mrs. Hale? My mother hesitated. No, but I am her mother. Mrs. Altman wrote something down. Then Clive turned to me. Ms. Hale? I placed my folder on the table. Not thick, not dramatic, clean. I bought Unit 4B on May 17th, 4 years ago. I am the sole owner. My mother is listed as emergency contact only, meaning the association may contact her if I am unreachable in a building emergency. She has no authority to grant access, occupancy, tenancy, or lock changes. I slid copies forward. Deed, mortgage statement, HOA bylaws, emergency contact policy, doorbell stills, text messages, locksmith email, hotel offer. Clive read quickly, then slowed down. Mrs. Altman asked for the deed. She read it out loud. Owner, Juniper Elaine Hale. My mother looked down. No co-owner listed, Mrs. Altman continued. No trust, no family occupancy clause. Orson shifted in his chair. Mr. Reyes looked at him. Sir, on what basis did you enter the unit? My mother had a key. That was not the question. Orson's jaw worked. Family emergency. The bylaws do not have a family emergency exception to trespass. My mother snapped. Trespass is a harsh word. Mrs. Altman looked at her over the deed. It is often a harsh act. That sentence did something to me. It put language where my family had put fog. Clive turned to the camera complaint. Doorbell cameras are permitted under association rules if they do not record private interiors of other units. Ms. Hale's camera faces her own entry. Orson said, it recorded my children. At her door, Mr. Reyes said, because we were living there, without permission. The circle closed so neatly I almost felt bad for him. Almost. The board ruled in 12 minutes. Orson had to vacate by noon the next day. My mother had to return all keys. Any lock change required written owner consent. The HOA issued a formal warning against unauthorized occupancy and noted that future violations would be referred to police without another hearing. Then Mrs. Altman looked at me. Ms. Hale, I recommend changing your emergency contact. Already done, I said. My mother flinched. After the hearing, she followed me into the hallway. Juniper, please. I turned. What? Her eyes were wet, but I had learned not to confuse tears with accountability. You embarrassed your brother. He moved into my home. He was desperate, so he should have asked. He knew you would say no. Then he already knew he did not have permission. She opened her mouth and closed it. There are truths so simple they leave no room to hide. Orson moved out the next morning. Paloma accepted the hotel rooms after he refused twice, and she told him, in front of me, that pride was not a housing plan. I paid the hotel directly. I also gave her the number of a tenant rights nonprofit and a property manager I trusted, not because Orson deserved it, because the children needed adults to stop using them as arguments. Then I changed the locks. I changed the alarm code. I changed the emergency contact to Mr. Kepler, who accepted with the solemnity of a Supreme Court appointment. I deep cleaned the condo, replaced the coffee table, and moved my desk back under the print. For 3 nights, I slept badly, not because I was afraid, because my home had been treated like an available space instead of the place I returned to after carrying myself through the world. On the 4th night, I made soup, sat on the floor because the couch cushions were still drying, and let myself cry. People think boundaries feel powerful immediately. Sometimes they feel like grief with paperwork. The next morning, I made an inventory, not because anything expensive was missing, because I needed my home to become a list I could finish. 2 chipped mugs, 1 scratched entry table, 3 towels gone, pantry emptied, desk drawers rearranged, a blue crayon mark on the hallway wall at the exact height of one of the twins. I wrote it all down. Then I stopped at the crayon mark. It was small, crooked, almost a star. For a few minutes, I hated that mark because it proved how quickly other people's chaos could write itself onto my walls. Then I hated myself for hating a child's mark when the child had not chosen any of this. Finally, I got a cloth and cleaned it slowly until only a faint shadow remained. That was the work after the hearing, not the legal part, the emotional part. Separating the children from the adults, separating need from entitlement, separating my love for my family from their access to my lock. Orson texted once that week, "You won. Happy now?" I typed 3 different answers and deleted them all. In the end, I wrote, "I did not win. I got my home back." He did not reply. Paloma did. 2 days later, she asked if I could send the hotel confirmation again because Orson had deleted it from their shared email. I forwarded it without comment. She sent back, "I am sorry about your table." Of all the apologies I received that year, that one was the simplest and somehow the most human. The HOA mailed the written decision the following week. I read it at my kitchen counter while standing in the same spot where I had watched the doorbell footage. The language was dry and official, which made it beautiful to me. Unauthorized occupancy, no ownership interest, no delegated authority, owner's consent required. I placed the decision behind the framed mortgage receipt by the door, not for guests, for me. Every time I left for a work trip after that, I looked at those pages and reminded myself that a boundary does not become cruel because someone needs what is on the other side of it. My mother did not speak to me for 2 months. Then she sent a birthday card with a check for $50 and a note that said, "I hope you can forgive how stressful things became." I returned the check. I kept the card because I wanted the reminder. Almost apologies are still not apologies. Orson eventually found a rental. Paloma left him the following spring. She sent me one message. "Thank you for offering the hotel even when we were wrong." I wished her and the kids well. I meant it. The first time my nephews visited after that, it was on purpose. Paloma called ahead. She asked if Saturday afternoon was okay. She asked if the boys could bring snacks. She asked if I preferred shoes off at the door. Every question sounded like respect entering the room before a person did. The twins stood in the hallway holding a plastic container of cookies and looking at the new lock like it might remember them. "Are we allowed?" one asked. I crouched so my face was level with his. "You are invited," I said. "That is different." He nodded seriously, as if I had explained a rule of physics. They stayed 2 hours. We played cards on the new coffee table. Nobody opened my bedroom door. Nobody touched my desk. When they left, one twin pointed to the hallway wall and whispered, "I drew there." "I know." "Sorry." "Thank you for saying that." After they left, I stood in the quiet and realized my home did not feel invaded. It felt used correctly. Doors can open without becoming public. That was something my family had never taught me. I had to learn it from a child asking permission. My mother finally apologized after Mr. Kepler had a minor fall, and I spent an afternoon helping him arrange grocery delivery. She saw me in the lobby with his list and said, "You help people all the time." I said yes. She looked ashamed. I acted like you only mattered when Orson needed something. I waited. "I am sorry," she said. "Not perfect. Late, but clean." "Thank you," I said. "We are rebuilding carefully. She does not have a key. She does not have my alarm code. She does not have emergency contact authority. She has Sunday lunch once a month in public places where nobody can confuse affection with access. My condo is quiet again. The quiet is not empty. That took me time to understand. It has the hum of the refrigerator I paid for, the click of my own lock, the small lamp I leave on when I travel because I like coming home to proof that I expected myself back. It has no one else's emergency sitting in the middle of the floor, demanding to be called love. Mr. Kepler still checks the hallway when I am gone. He texts only one word: clear. It is the most comforting message I get on work trips. There is a new entry table, a new lock, and a small frame beside the door with a copy of the first mortgage payment receipt. People frame diplomas. I framed proof that I kept a promise to myself. Sometimes when I come home from work trips, I stand in the hallway for a moment before opening the door. I listen to the ordinary silence on the other side. No suitcases, no children used as shields, no mother deciding that my absence made my home available. Just my key, my lock, my name, my peace. Finally, every day. That is my story. My brother moved in because my mother had a spare key. He changed the story until the HOA read the deed out loud. If someone in your life treats your stability like a community resource, remember this: being reliable does not make you public property. Share this with someone who needs that boundary, and tell me where you are listening from.